Here's what you need to know about the indictment of Donald Trump. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English, where JR and I help you upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. This is lesson number 566, so JR has uploaded the full lesson, including the transcript, to plainenglish.com/566. Now, just a word on the transcript. The transcript includes every word I say on the audio lesson, but it also includes links to other expressions we've talked about in past lessons. So this is pretty incredible. Now, today's transcript includes links to at the time, at least, cover up, a stretch, much less, technicalities, rely on, and more. So just by reading the transcript of today's lesson, you can explore all those other expressions from the past. All that for you at plainenglish.com/566. We, of course, have a new expression for you today that is drag on, and it's Monday, so we have a quote of the week. Let's get going. To his very long and unimpressive list of firsts, Donald Trump can now add one more. He is the first former American president to be indicted. Here are the charges. Donald Trump has been accused of falsifying business records. The indictment goes back to events that happened in 2016 when Trump was first running for president. Stephanie Clifford is an adult film actress who goes by the name Stormy Daniels. The charges say that in 2016, Stormy Daniels was preparing to go public with a story that she had an affair with Trump in 2006. The Trump campaign believed at the time that this story would have hurt his chances in the 2016 election. So one of Trump's lawyers paid Stormy Daniels $130,000 to keep quiet about the affair. She took the money and didn't say anything, at least not right away. After that, Trump reimbursed his lawyer the full amount and more in small payments in 2016 and 2017. He called those payments legal services, and they came from his business. But actually, prosecutors say the $130,000 was not for business legal services at all, but for hush money, money paid to keep someone quiet. It may be unseemly, but it's not illegal to pay someone to keep quiet about having done a legal thing. And so Trump is not being charged with paying Stormy Daniels to keep quiet. Instead, he is being charged with falsifying business records with the intent to deceive. The crime, prosecutors say, is that he changed his business records. He said the payments were legal services when they were really hush money. He changed his business records to conceal another crime. This is important because ordinarily falsifying business records is a very minor crime that rarely carries a serious punishment. But New York law makes this a felony, a serious crime, if lying on your business records was done to cover up another crime. So the local prosecutor had to link Trump's business records to something else that he did, something else illegal that he did. And they determined he was doing this to cover up violations of federal election finance laws, that these payments to Stormy Daniels broke national laws about election campaign spending. This is a real stretch for several reasons. First, federal prosecutors already decided not to prosecute Trump for campaign finance violations. So the local prosecutor needed to show that Trump was covering up a bigger crime, but he picked a crime that Trump was never even charged with, much less convicted of. And the crime of not disclosing a $130,000 campaign payment is extremely minor. So the prosecutor's legal approach is very uncertain. Second, the statute of limitations on this crime is 5 years. That means 5 years after an event, prosecutors can't bring charges. The last Trump payment was in December 2017, more than 5 years ago. But New York law sometimes allows the clock to stop on the statute of limitations when a person is out of state and Trump has not lived there in years. But this argument is also uncertain. Third, the prosecution's top witness is Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen. But Michael Cohen is a problematic witness. In another case, he pleaded guilty to totally different campaign finance violations, and he pleaded guilty to lying to Congress. So the prosecutor is going to rely heavily on someone who has already been convicted of lying. Trump's current lawyers will pounce on this, arguing that Michael Cohen has no credibility as a witness. Because of its complexity, the case may drag on for years, well past the 2024 election. It may ultimately be decided by the U.S. Supreme Court, or it may not. It may end with a whimper if a New York judge dismisses the case early. Many legal experts, including many Democrats, think these are legal acrobatics. Very thoughtful, measured lawyers, people who are not in Trump's corner. They describe this as exceedingly uncertain. That is a polite way of saying that this is an aggressive prosecution. Trump is also being investigated for several other crimes, including his role in the violent Capitol protests in 2021, his attempt to falsify election results in 2020, and his handling of classified information after he left office. He's being sued by the Attorney General of New York State for fraud, by an author who accuses him of sexual assault, and by others. So Donald Trump is in serious legal trouble. But this prosecution looks like the weakest of all the cases against him. Trump's supporters will be justified when they object, saying that he's being singled out for prosecution. In this case, the legal theory is untested, the law is unclear, and there are oodles of technicalities that could doom the case at any stage. It's hard to imagine a prosecutor bringing this case against anyone not named Trump. It may also not help in the political effort to stop Trump's return to the White House. If convicted of this state crime, Trump could still run for federal office. It puts Trump back on the top of the news agenda right when the country was starting to tire of him, and right when his own party was starting to take tentative steps away from him. And it's unlikely to change voters' minds about Trump. They already know him, flaws and all. For better or for worse, a large percentage of the electorate still loves him. If anything, this prosecution will let Trump continue to play his most favored role, that of the victim. His campaign got $8 million in donations in the days after his arrest. Donald Trump may be the first president to be indicted, but he is not the first to be arrested. In 1872, Ulysses S. Grant was stopped in Washington for speeding, not in a car, but for driving his own horse-drawn carriage too fast. A police officer recognized him and let him off with a warning, telling the sitting president that his speed was putting pedestrians' safety at risk. But the next day, he saw Grant speeding again, and once again, he stopped the speeding carriage. Here's what that arresting police officer said. He said, "I am very sorry, Mr. President, to have to do it, for you are the chief of the nation, and I am nothing but a policeman. But duty is duty, sir, and I will have to place you under arrest." They then rode together in Grant's carriage to the police station. Now I'm going to show you how to use the English phrasal verb drag on. We use this with a process, and it means to continue for a long time, longer than you want something to continue. The number one most popular way to use drag on, in my personal experience, is with meetings. I used to go to a lot of meetings that dragged on way longer than they needed to. Maybe we had 10 minutes of legitimate things to discuss, but 25 minutes later, the meeting is still happening. The meeting is dragging on. It's lasting longer than I want it to last. And then we've all been to meetings that dragged on for hours. Anyone can handle a boring 30-minute meeting, but sometimes you're in a meeting and it drags on for hours. That means it lasts for hours, and you don't want it to last that long. Did you notice how that sounded? Drag on for hours. So you can formulate this with drag on for plus a measurement of time, usually hours or longer. The case against Donald Trump is likely to drag on for years. Justice moves slowly in big cases. And this is a big case with a lot riding on the outcome, and it's complicated. As I said in today's lesson, it might be over quickly if a judge dismisses it, or it might drag on for years, even past the next election. Negotiations can drag on. When I was in consulting, we would often negotiate our contract before starting work on a project. Sometimes that whole process would last less than a day. I loved those. Those were great clients. We send the contract, the client proposes a few small changes, we make them, we both sign, done. But sometimes the contract negotiations dragged on for weeks. We had to get our lawyers to approve the project. Then the client wasn't happy with the price. Then they wanted us to do it faster. Then we said, we'd do it faster, but you have to pay us more. They said, fine, but we want you to be here in person. Okay, fine. Can we start tomorrow? Oh no, tomorrow doesn't work. How about 2 weeks from now? 2 weeks from now, we can't finish on time if we don't start for 2 weeks. The negotiations would drag on, sometimes for weeks. Now, I liked doing the projects. I didn't like doing all this administration, like signing the contracts and such. A whole project might only have taken a month or two, but the contract negotiations sometimes dragged on for weeks. Can you tell I don't miss it? A train carrying harmful chemicals derailed in a small town in Ohio in February. And the train spilled a lot of harmful chemicals in the area. It was a big story. Now, the railroad is cleaning up the area. And in early April, I saw a story that said the cleanup process would drag on for another 2 months. So that's April, May, early June to clean up chemicals spilled in February. I'm sure they're working hard, but the residents of the area wish the cleanup would be done faster so they can go back to their lives and not worry about harmful chemicals in the area. For them, the process is dragging on for too long. Speaking of trains, Britain is trying to build a high-speed rail network that would connect London to cities in the north. The project is called HS2, and it has dragged on for many years and may drag on for many more to come. The project was announced in 2009. This is now 2023. The latest estimate says it might be done in 2029 or 2032. That means the process could drag on for another 9 years. And even that might be an optimistic estimate. This is not unusual for mega projects. Construction on the Berlin airport dragged on for 9 years after it was originally supposed to be completed. New York City just opened a new train terminal that connects Long Island suburbs with the east side of Manhattan. It was supposed to open in 2011, but delays dragged on for over a decade. It opened in 2023. Today's quote is from Henry Ford. He said, "Quality means doing it right when no one is looking." Would these mega projects have taken so long if people heeded Henry Ford's advice? Quality means doing it right when no one is looking. I don't know. I think people are far, far more worried about how they appear than about how a big project might be completed on time. And that is all for today's Plain English. Congratulations on reaching the end of another lesson. This was a confusing one. It was confusing for me writing it, but you guys can follow complex ideas in English. We're not afraid of that here. Hey, if you haven't checked out our Instagram page, please take a second to do that. Your comments and reactions really do help other people find us on Instagram. So look for us on there at Plain English Pod. The next lesson will be delicious on Thursday. I'll tell you about America's #3 fast food restaurant chain by sales and its plans to expand to Europe and Asia. If you're in Europe or Asia, you are in for a treat if this restaurant chain opens in your country. Wait till Thursday. I'll tell you what it is, and I bet you'll be surprised. See you then.